Okay. Good evening to one and all. Welcome you all to the daily Indian Express newspaper analysis for the date 5th as well as 6th November 2023, brought to you by Ganesh IAS Academy. Okay, let's get into the today's newspaper analysis. Mentioned here are the list of important articles which we are going to have the analysis in the upcoming slides. So have a look at it. Okay, let's get into the analysis of each and every articles one by one. Filing FIR to getting conviction, legal process stacked against women according to a study. So since the news is related to a gender based discrimination on the process of the police as well as the judicial thing, that's the news is related to UPSC exam under prelims through a topic called Indian polity and governance, constitution, political system, Panchayat Raj, public policy, rights issues. Similarly, under mains GS paper 2, it's linked with a topic called welfare schemes for vulnerable section of the population by center as well as state. Okay, let's get into the news. See, the women complainants face more exclusion or expulsion than the male complainants. According to the study by Nirvikar Jasal, the assistant professor of political science at London School of Economics. So the women complainants are less likely to go from the police station. The process in terms of the complaints will start from the police station and it will be ending in the judiciary's convictions. So this kind of process where the most exclusion is happening for women according to the study being conducted by the Jasal, Nirvikar Jasal, a person belongs to assistant professor of London School of Economics. And when they do, even if the women come forward and they are raising the complaints and they are ready to follow the tedious process of this complaint from police station to the judicial conviction, only 5% is the conviction rate out of the overall cases being registered by the women when compared to 17% conviction rate of male complainants. And then what is the major reason for most of the complaints have not been taken up by the process? It has been found out that the perception of women misusing the domestic violence law, because it enforces reverse burden of proof. That is, if a woman is raising a complaint against the husband or husband relatives, means then the husband or the husband relatives under whose name the complaint has been raised by the woman have the burden to show the proof that they do not do such kind of mischievous thing against the woman. Such kind of law has been misused by the woman, so that is the reason why most of the cases have been dropped, even though if it is of serious charges. But according to the study, what the Nirvikar Jasal has said is that according to the data which he has accessed, he has said is that there is no case that is registered does not misuse the domestic violence law by the woman. So this is what the conclusion he has derived after the study. But so what are all the top provisions or the laws which has been invoked by the male complainants? It is mostly about theft, rash driving, burglary, and then public intoxication. But in the case of the penal provision that has been raised by the women complainants and then registered by the women complainants is related to, most of the complaints are related to cruelty by the husband or by the relatives of husband. These are under these two provisions only most of the cases raised by the women have been registered. And then women's complaining of violence, they have to wait a longer hours of 9 hours to get their complaints registered when compared to the average male waiting hours of 7 hours. And then the median as well as mean days between the crime as well as the registration of the cases approximately 1 as well as 28 for all the cases. But if we are looking into the women's related cases, the median as well as mean days is 69 as well as 113 respectively. So we could be able to see the huge gap in terms of the median as well as mean of the crime as well as the registration of crime. And then what the author is saying is that simply by creating the Mahila police stations and then fast tracking the women related court cases is not going to have any kind of fruitful impact which it intended to have. Instead, the process need to be reformed, and the men or the women or the people who have been involved in those processes need to be sensitized, so that the outcome in this process will be more of gender equal rather than gender exclusion. So this is what the analysis and the conclusion and the way forward being created raised by the study in this article. Okay, let's have a look into what is the process of that has been followed from the police complaint to the judicial trial. First thing is that the victim will be filing, that is the person who have been affected will be filing the police complaint. Once the police complaint has been raised, the police will be registering the complaint and they will be appointing the investigation officer to investigate the complaint. Then the second stage is FIR, and the FIR will be lodged immediately if the case is of serious offense, or else if the case is of lighter offense means then 2 or 3 days will be taken for investigation, and then only the FIR will be filed against the accused. The third step is the police investigation, where the police will be conducting a detailed investigations like recording the statement of both victim as well as accused, and they will be collecting the evidence, so on and so forth. This kind of things or investigation will be done by police investigation, which comes under third step. And then the charge sheet. After the investigation has been conducted successfully by police, they will be filing a charge sheet in the magistrate, before the magistrate. So in this charge sheet only, what is the exact sections of the laws and under which law the crime is coming and what kind of crime it is, this kind of things, the detailed aspect of those crimes will be made under the charge sheet and it will be submitted before the magistrate. And then the fifth step is the issuing of summons or the warrant by the magistrate. If the crime is of lighter offense means, then the magistrate will be issuing summons to make the summons to the accused to make himself present before the magistrate at the given date. Or if the crime is of serious offense means, then a warrant will be issued against the accused to the police, where the police will be bringing the accused before the magistrate, and then the trial will be starting, where both sides will be represented by their respective lawyers, and then the cross examinations between the victim as well as the as well as the accused will be taking place by their respective lawyers. Finally, the judgment will be given by the court. So here whether the accused is convicted or not will be known after the final judgment given by the judge. So this kind of process has been followed from the police station to the final judgment. So under this process only, there has been various number of gender exclusion has been happening, which has been pointed out by the study. So this is what the news is. So what we need to study further is, we should know about what is judicial custody, what is police custody, and what is the difference between both of them. Secondly, we should also be aware of what is Mahila police station and what is the reason for creating such kind of police station, and what is the current trend, or what is the current situation, whether it is successfully doing the intended job which it was created, or it is not doing the job which is what created, or if it is not doing means what kind of lacuna it is facing. Such kind of things we should be aware of. So thirdly, we should also know about the domestic laws for the woman, to protect the woman against the abuse. What are all the domestic laws and in which year it has been made, what are all the important provision of it, under which ministry it is coming. So these are all the other areas which we need to be aware of. So with this, we have reached the end of this topic. despite government's effort, why onion prices are still high. See, the news is related to the increase in price of onions. So, how it has been related to civil service examination is, under prelims it is related to economic and social development. Similarly, under mains it is related to issues relating to direct and indirect farm subsidies and MSPs, PDS, objective functioning limitations, and as well as revamping. So, these are under this topic the news has been linked. Okay, let's move on to the further details of the news. So, recently the efforts were made by the center to control the price of onion in the name of export duty being imposed at the rate of 40% on the onions, and minimum export price of $800 per ton has been imposed, so that the export price will be very high when compared to the international standard. So, it will reduce the interest of the farming agency who are there to export, so that it will increase the domestic surplus in terms of onions. Thirdly, government also formed a buffer stock of nearly 5 lakh ton of onion to channelize those onions where the onion price has risen steeply. So these are all the efforts being taken by the government to control the onion inflation. But despite this kind of effort, the prices are still rising. Why? Because first and foremost is the late arrival of monsoon. The late arrival as well as late withdrawal of monsoon is delaying the harvesting of Kharif onion season. That is the reason why it is taking so much of time for the onion to get into the market. As a result of which, demand is being created because of reduced supply, because of the late arrival as well as withdrawal of the monsoon. And then secondly, lack of storage infrastructure. Since onion is comprised of moisture in it, it has moisture content in it, it needs to be adequately stored so that it won't get wasted. But because of this kind of lack of storage infrastructure, it is getting wasted because of the moisture content that is present inside the onion. Thirdly, damage due to the erratic and then irregular rainfall that is happening throughout the country because of the climate change is also acting as threat for the normal growing of the onion during the monsoon season. So this is why their price is being as raised. When will they normalize? What the article has said is that after the arrival of the Kharif crops, which is delaying because of the late arrival of monsoon as well as withdrawal of monsoon. And then now let's have a look into the previous slide is what about the analysis in relation to why the price has been raised despite the effort taken by the government to reduce the price. So in this we will look into the detailed aspect of the onions in India and then what does the onions is about. So India is the second largest onion growing country across the world, and onion will be available around the year because it is harvested in 3 crop cycles. First is Kharif, and then post Kharif, and then Rabi season. During these 3 periods, the onion will be cultivated. Most importantly, majority of onion will be cultivated during Rabi season, and it is commonly cultivated onions in India are red onions as well as white onions. There are yellow onions also, where it is cultivated, but it is mostly exported to European countries. So this is what the details or the status of onion in India. Let's have a look into what does the onion is. So onion are primarily grown through seeds, and they will be grown on a well-drained sandy loamy soil, and the major onion producing states are Maharashtra, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, Bihar, Andhra Pradesh, Rajasthan, Haryana, and Telangana. In this, Maharashtra is the topmost state in terms of onion production. And then Lasalgaon, a town in the Maharashtra, is the country's largest wholesale onion market. It's India's largest wholesale onion market, which we need to be aware of, and the place we should also be aware of because it is important from the prelims perspective. So what need to be studied further is, we should know about what is the agriculture infrastructure fund. Secondly, we should also be aware of what is the Kharif as well as rabi crop, and then the minimum support prices. What are all the crops comes under minimum support prices? What is the advantages of it? What is the lack of minimum support prices? We should be aware of, and what is the status of the minimum support price? Whether it has been given legal rights or any other statutory rights or not, we should be aware of. So these are all the things which we need to be aware of, and with this we have reached the end of this topic. India starts the process to adopt national security strategy. Why this is significant? See, the news is related to civil service examination under prelims through a topic called current events of national and international importance. Similarly, under mains, it is related to GS paper 3 internal security. Okay, the National Security Council Secretariat, it is collecting the data from various ministry to form the common national security strategy for India. And what does this national security strategy is? It outlines the country's security objective and ways to achieve it. And it requires, if the security policy is going to be formed means, then there need to be a periodic updation required, which will be encompassing the geopolitics as well as the domestical requirement. And then it defines the national security strategy will be defining the traditional as well as the non-traditional threats, and it will also fix the accountability to the members or the agencies who are responsible for imposing the security related schemes or programs with them. And then it guides the military as well as the security reforms that is needed in the future. Similarly, what are all the different kinds of non-traditional threats that has been arising across the world? Most importantly in India is financial as well as economic security. Secondly, food and energy security, information warfare, and vulnerabilities are the different types of the non-traditional threats that is arising in India and also at the global level. So what are the countries previously have their own national security strategies? That the developed countries like US, UK and Russia, and then the China is also having a comprehensive national security policy. Similarly, the Pakistan has recently formed the national security policy 2020-26. So we could able to see that both the border countries, the China and Pakistan are having their own national security policies. So this is what the status of the policy national security strategy in different countries, and why the effort has been taken now despite so many years after independence. Why it is being taken for the first time now is because of the rise of the non-traditional threats which we have seen in the previous slide. Secondly, it is because of the rising geopolitical uncertainties and then increasing divide between the countries. So these are all the factors which has arisen recently to make India to form its own national security strategy. Why India has never had such a national security policy is what various ex-officials and various ministries or departments are saying is that because of lack of cohesiveness and lack of whole of government approach between different stakeholders of these securities, and also lack of coordination between the state and center, and then most of the time government is not willing to make public its national security objective. That is the reason why they could not able to form a national security policy. So if the national security policy is going to be formed means, then surely it need to be made public. So because of the hindrance by the previous governments or the previous agency to publicize these objectives, it is also one of the reason for not forming the national security strategy. So these are all the reasons being quoted by different ministries according to the article. So let's have a look into what is this National Security Council is. It is the executive government agency which is tasked with advising the Prime Minister office on the matter of the national security as well as its strategic interest. And it is established by our former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee during 1998. And then Brajesh Mishra was our first national security advisor, and the National Security Council will comprise of members like National Security Advisor, Deputy National Security Advisor, Ministry of Defense, External Affairs Minister, Finance Minister, Home Minister, and then the Vice Chairman of the Niti Aayog. And PM will be the chairing the National Security meeting of the National Security Council. So this is what the details of the National Security Council is. And the National Security Council structure will encompass of 3 tiers. Just the Strategy Policy Group, the National Security Advisor Board, and then the Joint Intelligence Committee. So these are all the 3 tiers of the National Security Council. So what are all the areas which we need to be aware of is, first and foremost, we should know about what is this theater commanders. Secondly, we should also be aware of the paramilitary forces. Thirdly, we should also be aware of what are all the different types of Ministry of Defense, Home Ministries programs being security related initiatives being formed as well as implemented at the ground level. So these are all the other areas which we need to be aware of, and with this we have reached the end of this topic. Falling farm exports concerns. So the news is related with the falling farm exports. So the news is related to prelims under a topic called economic and social development, sustainable development, poverty, inclusion, demographics and social sector initiatives. Similarly under mains it is related to issues of direct and indirect farm subsidies, minimum support price, PDS, objectives, functioning, limitations, revamping, issues of buffer stocks and food security. So under this topic only the news has been related to. Okay, let's move on for the further explanation of the news. So India's agri export has fallen by 11.6% year on year in April and September 2023-24. This year, the first 6 months export has reduced when compared to the previous year's 6-month export. And export of commodities, see we could able to see is 23.6 billion, but in the case of the previous year it is 26.7 billion dollars. And the import has also fallen from 19.3 billion to 16.2 billion dollars. And during 2021-22 and 22-23, these 2 years we saw the export touching the all-time high of agri exports, $50.2 billion and $53.2 billion respectively. And during this period also the import also surged for the all-time high. But what is the reason has been quoted by the article is that it is because of why the export has reduced in terms of value is because of the reduced price level that is prevailing in the international market. So that is the reason why we could able to see the reduction in the value of the exports. And then so this is what the details being quoted by United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization's Food Price Index. What it has said is that, see, the food price index rose from an average of 96.5 points in 2019-22 to 102.5 points in 2020, and it has surged to a steep high of 133 points in 2021-22 and 139.5% in 22-23 period. So during this period we could able to see that the export of India has also reached the all-time high of $50 billion and $53 billion respectively in the previous year. So we could able to see because of the rise in the international arena, it also led to the increased value of export during that period. Similarly, the India's agriculture exports also fell from $43.3 billion in 2013-14 to $35.6 billion in 2019-20 because of reduction in food price index at global arena, and then it rose thereafter because of the global turmoil that has taken place during that period, like in the case of COVID pandemic and supply chain disruption caused by the Russian-Ukraine war. So these are all the things led to soaring prices of during the 2021-22 and 22-23 period. But what Food and Agriculture Organization has projected is that the global countries are going to end up with a the stock of 88.1 millions stock of cereals during this period. So this is one of the reason for the price rise. This is one of the reason for reduction in the exports. The export curbs, the initiatives being taken by the government recently to increase the domestic supply by curbing the export of different products like wheat, parboil, non-white basmati rice, so on and so forth. Such kind of things has led to drastic reduction in exports. These are all the factors has contributed to the reduction in export of the agri output. What is the concern the farmers has raised is that because of the reduction of the exports is led to reduced earning to the farmers. Secondly, because of reduction in the export and then the reduction in the price level at the global arena, India is right now importing most of its products at cheaper cost, which is also acting against the interest of the farmers because of the high import that has been risen during this period, which in turn is reducing their domestic market also because of the reduced products that has been imported from other countries by the India. See, for example, the cotton currently is quoting at nearly 91.80 cents per pound, which is very less when compared to 173.45 cent which attained during 2022. So this price crash has led to India's cotton export not only plummeted because of this price crash, or export values got reduced in terms of the cotton exports from 2.8 billion in 2021 to 781 million in 2022-23 period in terms of values of the cotton export. But the import got surged nearly 2.5 times from 559.6 million to 1.4 billion. Why this transformation has happened is because of the cheaper cotton that is available in the international arena. And why? One of the major reason for importing the cheaper products that is available in the international arena is the government effort is to control the inflation by importing at the domestic level, so that because of the reduced imported products, the price of the price in the domestic arena will get cooled off. So that is the reason why most of the the products which is available at the cheaper cost in the global arena is getting imported to India, which is acting against the interest of the farmers. So this is what the news is. So what we need to study further is, we should know about what is the Agri Infrastructure Fund, and then minimum support price, fair and remunerative price, minimum selling price, and then what is sugar, parboiled rice and basmati rice, their physical features as well as their characteristics which we should be aware of. So with this, we have reached the end of this topic. Okay, let's move on. 5-year extension for free ration. The numbers behind the food security scheme. See, the recently the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana's tenure has been extended for 5 years to provide free ration to the people who comes under Antodaya Anna Yojana and priority health cards. So under prelims it is linked with economics and social development. Similarly under mains it is related to issues relating to direct and indirect farm subsidies and minimum support price, public PDS, objectives, functioning, limitations, revamping issues of buffer stocks, etc. So, okay, let's move on to the news. So, this is what the food subsidy budget of Government of India for the past 3 years. So, during 2020-21, you could be able to see nearly 5,41,330 crore has been allocated for the food subsidy because of the rising COVID pandemic and the imposed lockdown. Made the Government of India to provide free ration through Garib Kalyan Yojana to most of the population. That is the reason why you could able to see the food subsidy budget got increased during that time. But it got drastically reduced because of the opening up of the economy. So right now, according 2023-24 budget, what is the budget estimate? According to the budget estimate, what the government has estimated is that nearly 1,97,350 crores will be spent for the food subsidy this year. And then, okay, let's move on to the what does this, why the Garib Kalyan Yojana or Garib Kalyan Yojana is about. It is a free ration scheme which initially been brought out to rise the tide of the food security related issues that has arisen during the COVID pandemic, and it has been provided for the period of 3 years. And what kind of ration it is giving is that nearly 5 kg free food grains to the eligible ration card holders will be under NFSA, that is National Food Security Act 2013, will be given through this scheme. And what is the scope of Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana is, the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana will cover those 2 kinds of ration cards which is given under National Food Security Scheme, that is Antodaya and Anna Yojana, and then the priority household cards. So the people, those who are coming under this respective card, they will be getting the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana's free ration grains along with the ration which they have been getting under their own respective cards. For example, if a person is having Antodaya Anna Yojana card, means he is entitled to receive nearly 35 kg of food grains per month, irrespective of the number of family members. If he is holding the priority household card, means then the family will be receiving 5 kg per month for each of the members, 5 kg food grains. So this is what the details of the Antodaya Anna Yojana and priority health household card is about. And along with this only, the free ration of the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana's free ration is being given. And quantitatively, the National Food Security Act covers nearly 20 crore families, which accounts for nearly 81.35 crore beneficiaries. And in that, 50% of people are living in rural, and 75% are living in rural, and 50% of people are living in urban areas. So this is what the scope of the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana is. So how the allocation has been made is that since 2020 and till this year's January, it has been given separately. But after this year January, Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana has been merged with National Food Security Act, so that the person, those who are coming under Antodaya Anna Yojana and then priority health card schemes, they will be receiving the free food grain under Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana. So this is how the allocation has been made under the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana. So this is what the details of the news is, and it has been extended for 5 years for the to ensure that the food security in India is prevailing because of the rising inflation and then global turmoil and then so on and so forth. So what we need to study further is, we should know about what is minimum support price, what is PDS system, and also we should also know about the Food Security Act 2023. So these are all the areas which we need to be aware of. So with this, we have reached the end of this topic. Okay, let's have a look into practice prelims question. So this is what the today's practice prelims question. Those students, those who are watching this session online, please do comment the option point for the question which you are seeing right now on the board. Okay. With this, We have reached the end of today's section. Please do like, share, comment as well as subscribe the Ganesh IAS YouTube channel to get further updates related to current affairs and any other exam related updates brought to you by which will be brought to you in the future by the Ganesh IAS Academy. Thank you.